Hello, and welcome to Digital Artcast, hosted by Gordon Neill. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Procreate, the most advanced painting app ever designed for a mobile device. We'll be discussing the app a little more later in the episode, as well as giving away a free copy. But for now, let's get started.
Hey guys, welcome back to Digital Artcast. Back with another interview, and this time taking a slight more direction, maybe more focused on community than art in particular. But I'm joined by Spiridon. People who don't know him, shame on you. You should. But yeah, Spiridon and me have been talking on and off for. I'm trying to remember when the first time we spoke was. Was it last year sometime before Industry Workshops, or
yeah, it should have been like I think July or something.
Yeah. So around about a year. And yeah, Spiridon and me have talked about coming on the podcast and talking about the projects he has upcoming, particularly the Firestarter magazine that has been kind of one of the centre focuses of the community, or the art community, the last year. But before all that, Spiridon, if people don't know you, again, shame on them, but can you tell us a little about who the fuck you are and why the fuck you're here?
Yeah, you gotta answer yourself, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, to get the bullshit out of the way, your name has come up in the community several times before I even started talking to you. And obviously this last year we've bumped into each other a few times, and when I talk to people about you, they always talk about how you are such a big part of the community, almost like it's heart and soul, and you keep pushing community focus through in everything you make, which is including like the magazine and the stuff you've worked on, like with the art books you make with people, and the projects you do with them. So yeah, give us a little background into who Spiridon is.
Well, I guess you pretty much covered it right now. You basically
interview over.
You basically just said everything that's happening right now. It was in general, all that I can start with is that I come from a graphic design background. I do this if I include the freelancing, I do this for 11 years. I was employed for 8 years at a publisher here locally and worked on tourism stuff, which basically means like books for hiking and in-flight magazines for To Fly and Thomas Cook, all that stuff.
Cool.
Was pretty generic, nothing really artsy-fartsy and nothing really special. But that pretty much changed when I started considering seriously working as an illustrator myself, like including this into my routine and my offers that I do as a freelancer. Started freelancing pretty much like 4 years ago. I think it was October 2013. Yeah, and my son was already born, and I hardly ever saw him, so I quit so I can spend more time with him. Was the best decision ever, because it was really big. Most people were like, yeah, dude, you got a kid, you gotta have a safe job and everything. But I had so many offers at that time from other companies who were like, yeah, let's work. You could work with us, and it was a really good decision because the money was better, and I could work the way it made sense for me as a father, because I could work like late when my son was in bed. All these things were really important. I could see him growing up.
Yeah.
Well, then when the freelancing started, I tried to keep on illustrating and integrating this into my offer, but it never really worked out. It's not even the fact that I wasn't that good. I just didn't get better. Yeah. So at this point, I was just I decided to not pursue it anymore, and it's pretty much happened the same time when I met Evan, when I decided to like nag him constantly when he did his 366 sketch and story thing, which we later then turned into Tyne, his book project.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, generally from there, everything went along in the direction to do more art books. And other people approached me at that point, wanted to work with me. And it was not only that, I saw that it was a huge potential in all these upcoming events that were happening. And many people were like, dude, is there a list? Is there a list? And all that stuff. And from that thought, I just started making this magazine, which was like a little booklet in the beginning, but turned out to be, quite, I mean, something that people really liked. It was at the IFCC last year, 2017, when the first booklet was out. Was A4 sized, had 80 pages, and were overall just like a small overview included with like a program for the event.
Yeah.
But from there, it went like... with its 400 copies, it went for the next edition. It was already like 1,500 copies, 160 pages, A4 sized with a huge unfoldable cover by Pablo Carbio.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing because it was so well received. And the next step was actually to do this away from a specific event and provide this to all the events. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am right now.
Cool. A brief history. You've done a good job of summing up a year and a half's worth of work in about 10 minutes. So that was
I think it wasn't even a year and a half. I mean, Firestarter started in June last year, right?
Yeah.
When you consider. So I think with the art book, it may be a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
But you were planning this before. I mean, you had an idea of putting something together before IFCC, right? You were kind of...
It was fucking. I mean, I was really fast. I was just like popping it together. There were many ideas and everything, but until I had like actually people say, "Yeah, let's do it that way," and we can provide content and do all this and that. I mean, that took a while. And
so what was the conscious decision of the magazine when it went forward? Because obviously, you weren't just looking to make a 2-page list that listed all the events. You wanted to include interviews, you wanted to put artwork in there, advertisements. Was it just your knowledge of working in graphic design previously that informed that, or did people come to you with ideas, or you had an idea of what you wanted to include in it? Or
yeah, I mean the idea in the beginning was quite solid, but of course it changed along the way, because these things just happen. I mean, there are so many motivational memes online, and they include so much information about how to approach certain projects and how to approach life.
Yeah.
And you can pick the few that actually make sense really fast, because all of them tell you to keep moving, and you change things along while you move. Yeah. And this is what I did with the Mac. I mean, it started just as a part program thing and an event list, so like everybody puts their head together, and from there I was like, I mean, when I have more pages and I can offer more stuff, like some wisdom of the speakers that actually are there, and make like something like an archive for their knowledge, which is not gone whenever the event is over, then I actually help the community a little bit better with that. I mean, more pages and also more content, which can also be combined, of course, with branding, or especially with advertising, which funds the magazine and makes it available for free for everybody.
Yeah, and that was a conscious decision from the start, like to make it free?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it should not only be free in download, but also in print.
Yeah.
But I would be happy to have at some point as many sponsors that are dedicated enough to contribute to the community, that there would be enough left to actually pay people and myself for doing all that work.
Yeah.
So that is the goal of it.
Yeah, totally. I think it's I mean, from my understanding, I'm very new to the industry, but I think with my limited knowledge I've had from going to events and speaking to people, I think the reason that people want to do this for free and wouldn't take money is because, like, everybody shares the vision. Like, I mean, people know that the book is going out as part of a learning facility for younger artists and people in the community. And it's like, when people go to do speakers, places, events, apart from obviously the obvious stuff like travel and accommodation, people wouldn't take money to talk at events. Like even, stupid stuff when you think about motivational speakers, they take, crazy money sometimes to go and speak at events to motivate people. But people in their industry do this all the time for free because they just want to inspire, and that's it. They're not looking for a paycheck. They just want to give back to a community that's been so good to them. And I think that's why, like you said, you would want to give money to people, but they wouldn't take it because you want to create something that's informative, educational, and brings the community closer together. And people don't see that as something they want to profit from. But yeah, it's a really complex issue, I think, for trying to organise something like this without taking or getting finance involved. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's not only the finances and everything. It's also like a certain morale, because at one point you will always be like, nobody should work for free, and at the other point you're like, if I can't do this with people doing this for free, I can't do it at all. Everybody at some point in the industry, and everybody who has made it will be like, at some point I did some free stuff and there actually came jobs from it, because exposure is a thing. But I think the people that I'm working with mostly don't really need the exposure, so they don't really have to do it. But eventually, I don't know how to put it. It's a complex matter. We should always just do whatever makes us happy. And since I get asked also to help and to contribute to things like some advice for Kickstarters or for print or whatever other like community project is up, and I'm always happy to help. And I just assume that there are people out there who do the same way. It's just like it's tricky to find the right ones and not to like piss off certain people. Who would be like, of course I work with a budget, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you do, and I really appreciate that you tell me, and it's okay, but I and some others actually don't. It's okay to do both. It's not just like, are you ruining the industry and you can't do this, and it's like no, it's okay. You do it that way, I do it that way, and I think there's enough space for both of us.
Yeah, definitely. Because the work you're doing with the art books could be considered, obviously, you would need money for that, because then you're drawing on your design skills, your background, your time for making the stuff. But I think Firestarter is almost, although obviously, like you said, you'd love to do it as a job, but it is almost like a passion project at this point. It's kind of like when people talk about having personal work, this is kind of like your personal thing, like the thing you've done to fuel your passion. Does that kind of sound right? Or I don't know if that's a good description of it or not, but is this like your passion project, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's like pretty much my heart's blood, because it's how everybody of you artists is like saying, I have an IP and I'm gonna pitch it, I'm gonna be doing this and that. This is pretty much my IP. This is what I want to do. This is what I hope to achieve at some point, to be successful with this magazine and build a community around it, and for the entire community, and especially not like making it something special, but just like a hub where people come together, and from there they can go everywhere else. Like for example, your podcast or other people's podcasts, or there are video reviews, for example, which Isis Susa is doing for art books, and other stuff. And all these people, I could be like, I have this platform, and it's not Facebook, it's not going under in some black hole, but actually people can come here and put their heads together and work on something bigger, and from there they can go to your own side, like in a way which Facebook was meant to be, not like it is right now with paid content and all that stuff. It's no, you contribute to something bigger, and from there it might be that your smaller thing becomes big as well. This is something that I'm trying.
And I think that's the pitfall of even Facebook or a lot of websites, is that you bring sponsorship in to pay the bills or to help fund your passion or your project, but then it's trying to also make sure that those sponsors aren't then directing the direction of the boat, like taking the wheel and saying, well, we would love if you went more this direction or more this direction. And yeah, that'll probably be, because obviously your magazine deals with some huge sponsors. I mean, people like Adobe and stuff, and you've got to make sure that that you still have the creative helm, the wheel of the ship. But again, I think because those industries or those sponsors are more community and creatively based, then I can't see them interjecting too much in what you want to do with the magazine. I take it they were quite happy for you to have your own vision of what you want to do.
I'd be happy, by the way, to work with Adobe. At this point, it's not so far, and not yet. But Wacom has been a sponsor like from the first hour, which I'm very grateful for.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But the thing that I mean, some things are not like easily replied because there are so many aspects to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think when Wacom came on board to help you with the magazine, they weren't kind of like from day one telling you like the content you had to include or what you had to make the page. Yeah, like they were happy just for you to get involved, basically.
The entire structure itself, it was quite okay at that time anyway.
Yeah.
So what I told Jens and Jeroen was that I'm doing this and that, and they were like, yeah, sounds great. Well, if you do something like that and a little bit more of that, then I could see us work together. So it's not like telling me what to do, but it's more like finding some common ground.
Oh, totally.
And, yeah. And the best part of it is that I mean you have other magazines out there and they work quite well and they need to sell their copies, which actually I don't.
Yeah.
And this gives me the freedom to at some point also say, well, your advert doesn't really add any value for my readers.
Yeah.
So if you like sell toilets or something, there's no space. There's no space for you in the magazine. But if you actually like produce paper for sketchbooks, for example, or if you have a certain software, or if you're an organization yourself or a studio, whatever, you can be represented in it, and people will actually value those pages and see also that you kind of contribute to a community project, which is also like a very nice thing to see. Like people care also. It doesn't matter if they're companies or just like people or persons.
Yeah.
Even a big company can care actually for where everything is going. And I'm actually managed with my magazine to prove that.
Yeah. I was going to say, even with the last issue, which would be number 3, which is available through your website as well. You actually did. I'm hoping this is right, but you worked with Axis Studios, right, in Glasgow?
Yeah, I did, and I still do.
Cool. Yeah, no, it was a thing, even just from my personal observation, because I picked up the magazine. I didn't get a chance to really look at it at the event, but as I was coming back, I was going through it, and I noticed that Axis were involved. How did that kind of come about? Have you worked with the studio before, or did you know before that you were going to do stuff with them, or?
The beautiful thing about this is like this happened the way things should happen. Like the way that I like to help myself when to help people. I mean, you get it. So when I was at THU, there was Jort van Belbergen.
Yep.
And he basically just grabbed my arm and was pulling me over to John and Adele. Great. And they were sitting there, and they were like, "Yeah, this looks pretty cool. We would like to work with you." And from this, it happened, just like that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's really how you want everything to work, eh? And again, we can talk about this later, but with these types of events, that's the power of them, right? You can have these conversations, and then straight away you're either working for somebody or working with somebody. Yeah,
that's the whole point.
Yeah, 100%. And it was a point I was watching on a video where there was I can't remember specifically the artist, but they were doing feedback sessions in THU out in the grass. And one of the guys had talked about how people approach THU now as more of holiday retreat.
That was Jeremy Mann.
Yeah, that was it.
Very often clicked video on YouTube. Yeah.
And Carl Ortiz, I think, as well, was there as well doing something.
This is not a holiday.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Which
surprised me, because I was like, I mean, you could pay to go anywhere just to sit in the sun, but with those lists of speakers and the events and the facilities they have, on hand, it would be weird if people were just spending days at the beach. But and this will be my first year going to THU, so I'm definitely going with the mentality that I'm going there to almost work, like treating it like a work holiday. Like I'm going there to inform myself and push myself further as an artist, not to catch rays in Malta. So yeah, definitely 100%. And I think that's anybody who approached any of these events like that. I think it's more. I was only thinking that THU might have approached it that way because of the location they were based in, where there was a better climate, as opposed to events in more central parts of Europe and London, where the weather isn't as great and you've not maybe got the opportunity. And then also maybe that THU also runs for 6-7 nights, right? It's like almost a week in the event. So yeah, I mean it's totally fine to take a break in between, but yeah, it was weird to see that people had been turning up to the event to just sit there, yeah, and just catch up with people, which I can kind of understand because I talked to somebody last year at industry workshops, and they were saying that sometimes they go to these events where they aren't really going to as many talks. It's more just an opportunity to meet people you haven't seen for the year, or catch up with people that you talk online with at Facebook, but then you meet them in real person, and then you get to have that conversation. I mean, what's your approach to a lot of these events? Do you find that you see these things as definitely 100% networking or work, or do you think there's a space in between for socializing? I mean, there's got to be, right? So I mean, I probably already know your answer.
My view on it is not like it's not that important because I'm not an artist. It's of course, yeah, no, it really matters. It really matters because so if you have Jerry Munn saying this is not a holiday, for example, then he's 100% right. This is not a holiday. You paid for it. You have to get most of it. Then again, you have something like the evenings where you can network with people. So the balance is there, which most of the events have, as far as I know. So what I believe would be my approach to that situation is that everybody can do what they want. But what they shouldn't forget is that it's not about this as a holiday, but generally the whole community and the whole industry, it's a competition. Never forget that. The guy next to you will be the one who goes to Carla Ortiz and ask her certain things and have his epiphany and maybe be the next big star in the industry. These things are happening all the time, and especially at these events. And if you choose to be the one who sits there and eats his burger all day and misses all the talks and doesn't take anything away from it, and at the end says, meh, was okay, saw some people, made some friends, or even if you're like, I was partying all the time and so much fun and it was so great and blah blah, then okay, do that. Maybe you will do it even next year, and people will know you for exactly that. But maybe you decide to have it a little bit more balanced, like it is thought, because I wouldn't tell anyone to work for an entire week without any pause, especially not with so many people around you. Of course, you have to mingle. Of course, you have to talk to people. Of course, you have to take the best out of it. So this is basically how I do it. I try to network as much as possible. And when I'm fed up with it, or if I see no option anymore, I sit together with friends and I enjoy my time.
No, totally. I can 100% understand that. Yeah, it makes sense. So with the idea with these events in the book now, I mean, are you trying? I mean, you've got the book now to several events over the last year. I take it the initial goal has been so many events, but now looking forward, you're going to try and get this to. I mean, the end goal would be just to get it to every event in the world, right? I mean, you'd want to try and cover everything that's in the front page. You'd want to try and get your book to those events, right?
Yeah, it's quite hard that, because I mean I was getting into the situation kind of blue-eyed because I would say like really naive, because the shipping to other continents is fucking expensive, like so expensive. I worked so far with other products which were much cheaper to ship, of course, but I didn't count in like 100. The current one is 186 pages. So it's like almost a kilo per magazine.
Wow.
It's fucking big, and and the folded cover doesn't help. Shipping like I don't know, like 1,000 magazines, for example, over to Mexico cost me 2,700 euros. Wow. Which is something that I can absolutely not cover. So at this point, the magazine stays in Europe.
Yep.
But since more and more events abroad are interested in working with me, for example, the latest edition will be CTN in Burmek.
Oh wow!
And
Congrats.
yeah, and they were very interested in having the magazine there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find ways to, of course, increase the overall money I can get with a magazine,
Yep.
and let also the people in the States enjoy it at their events.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It goes like into a lot of specifics and technical things, and so
Yeah.
I don't know what else to add at this point in such a conversation. But I'm doing my best. This is what I can promise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like it's almost like the I mean, I wouldn't want to compare you to any other magazine because your stuff is very unique for the content you provide. But I'd imagine it would be similar to like the really early days of Imagine FX starting. You know, like having their first couple of issues, like trying to get the magazine out there and who to include and where it should
I
be
don't
shipped to.
know.
Yeah, no, of
I
course.
really don't know.
Yeah, nobody would know because obviously nobody was there for that. But it seems like it's almost the birth of something new where as the beginning days, but it's not something that's not been done before. Like people have begun and started magazines and built them into from
Yeah.
two people to a whole team to
Yeah, it is. I'm still trying to build it up. So it's like I said, it's like in a constant change, and I still you could basically see it as an experiment where I still try to deliver whatever I promised.
Yeah.
So I try to give the sponsors what they want, but along the way I try to find out what is good. This is, for example, why I started wants to actually behave towards people who work for free.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say, I mean, this is my personal opinion, obviously, but when Evan put his artbook out, the time and effort you put into that book, and obviously the stuff he put into the book, sketch wise, you're obviously charging for Evan's book, which makes perfect sense, obviously, because you want to buy his work, you want to support the artist. I would see you making the Firestarter stuff as almost exactly the same thing. I mean, I totally understand that people are offering stuff to you for free, interviews or whatever else, but you are taking the time to oversee it, to edit it, to put it together, and then work with publishers, work with the guys in the background and sponsors, and then get it shipped out to events, attend the events. In my personal opinion, I think people should be paying for it. I definitely think it because I mean, you're talking. You said you're nearly 200 pages for the latest issue. It's almost like an art book in itself. You know what I mean? So, and you're giving exposure to people through the magazine. I mean, I definitely think people should be paying for the magazine. I mean, and that's again just my opinion, but yeah, I think it's and that's why I want to get you in the podcast, because you were doing such awesome work, and we just even talked at the last event in Paris about how you said, oh well, man, I'm not really an artist and stuff, but you are a big part of the community. I mean, fuck off what you're going to say. I'm telling you now. People were telling me you are definitely a very large part of this community.
Okay, well, I never really said that I'm not. It's like I'm not in the same position as most in the community, I would say, but I definitely feel myself as a part of the community because I mean I started out as an artist, and how many of the people, for example, who do the events are no real artists, like in terms of producing something or working with something as some company. How many of the publishers, for example, who do the art books or any other part of the community, people are considered as part of the community, really have to be artists to make that. I mean, all you have to do is love art, and this is something that I absolutely do. So this is the reason why I could do art books, was combining what I'm passionate about with what I can do, what I can actually do to contribute something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, I would even say your graphic design skills. I mean, there was a whole conversation. And I know you've talked about this before, but we even had this conversation back in school where people would say, if you're a designer, you're not an artist, and that's a bigger conversation than you and I can get any on this podcast.
Please don't do it.
God, yeah. Because I even saw you like sitting across from Christian like that night talking about, oh, you're a concept designer, you're not an artist, and Christian was just like shaking his head like fucking hell, Spiridon. But yeah, like. I totally get what you're talking about because when I initially got into concept art, I watched a talk with Matt Rhodes, who talked about like he sees concept like a good piece of concept art as problem solving, And yeah, it's more like people see it as like the fancy pictures in the art books, but it's a methodical process where you're feeling out design aspects of things. So you're designing sets, you're designing rooms, you're designing weapons, you're designing characters. So yeah, it definitely is more design orientated, but I think there is also an artistic integrity that comes with the design aspect, and I think the marrying of both is what makes you a good concept artist. Do you? And I mean, you could talk at length, obviously, but just in general, I mean, what is your, yeah.
I'm trying. I'm always trying to stay out of the conversation because last time I got into this conversation, I was in Berlin, and Adam Paquette was there,
Right.
and he was. I mean, he's such a clever guy. He had many more words for the issue that I could ever have,
Yeah.
and he explained everything. And I don't even know. I don't think I kept everything of it.
Yeah.
But speaking of my experience about the matter. I will absolutely agree, for example, with Kenny Carvalho,
Yeah.
that all you guys, you aren't concept artists, you're concept designers, because you solve problems, and being creative isn't automatically being an artist.
Yeah.
So I don't consider myself an artist at all. I consider myself a problem solver. Of course, most of the problems are my own, but I still try to solve them, and get to a point where I'm like, I don't know. I sat down, I solved this problem. I thought about something. I thought about a certain approach, and I didn't just pour everything out of my heart and made this something personal. What makes the magazine personal is the amount of work I put in, without like getting the big paycheck for it, which I actually would get if I would do this for a client. This makes it a personal thing for me.
Yeah.
But it's not art.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. I think you're very right in what you're approaching, and I wonder if that's why people like Scott Robertson have been probably so successful or so prominent in the industry, because like his training is through industrial design. So you know, like he's came into the world of concept through the design eyes rather than the art eyes. And I wonder if that's why that has maybe been a more success story for him, and maybe why sometimes artists in the industry struggle or find hard to get into the positions they do, because they're probably approaching it more artistically than design based. Do you think that's right, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
In general, I could say yes.
Right.
I would also add that I find it quite interesting that so many artists come from a design background, but basically just neglect everything they learn.
Yeah.
Because now in Paris, when I was there, and there was this table with Sama and the other guys that were sitting there, and it started as a discussion with me looking at their business cards and telling them what they could improve. And there was this situation where I tried to explain something with a like a metaphor. Is it a metaphor? I don't know. So I basically told them, if you have a cover of a magazine, and this magazine has like the top-notch illustration on it, like really awesome illustration, you're like, wow, holy shit, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, for example, take the one that Gilles made for my magazine. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you're like, I'm gonna add the title and everything, and I'm doing this in Comic Sans.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I fucking ruined it. Yeah.
Yeah.
With fucked up graphic design. Now you don't. I don't know. You like take a drawing that my son would do, or some guy who did it with the left hand. Yeah. They just use the example of the left-handed drawings, which basically are flooding like the art world at this point.
Yeah.
I don't say they don't have their space in there, but it's just not my taste.
Yeah.
So you just take like one of these line arts that are like totally crumpled and everything, but you just add like really good typography. You know, like imagine the best that you can see it somewhere, and you're like, holy, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And suddenly it becomes good design.
Now at Digital Artcast, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor Procreate. Procreate is an Apple Design, award-winning digital painting and illustration solution designed exclusively for iOS. Procreate allows you to create professional-grade artworks wherever you are. With an advanced dual-texture brush engine, a robust layering system, and groundbreaking canvas resolution, all for only £9.99. You can find Procreate 4, the new release, through the App Store on your iPad, or learn more at www.procreate.art. Remember to leave a comment on YouTube or leave us a review on iTunes to be in with a chance of winning a copy of Procreate 4 for free. That's right, free. Thanks again to the Procreate team for sponsoring our podcast. Now, back to the episode.
When it comes to stuff like Tegan and stuff, I mean, because that was like, was Tegan your first proper art book you walked in with Evan? Was that the first thing you kind of like put together?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would say that was the first proper art book that I did. I mean, I did some sketchbook stuff before, and also did some things that people sold at cons.
Yeah.
But from I mean, of course, Evan is a really well-known artist and designer, and he's doing some amazing work. Yeah. So if I would be like considering this from the weight that it had on my own career, for example, not only on its own, then this project was, I can consider it like my real first art book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what were the design aspects going? Because this is more your day job. So what was the design aspects going into Evan's book? Was there something you wanted to convey with his work, or were you trying to get the graphic design out the way so that it was more prominent with illustration, or how did you find the balance?
It was. I was trying to do it a bit like a profiler, and this is something that many other designers do a little bit different. But I'm always trying to be like, what would Evan do if he had like what I know? Mm-hmm. If he knew what I know, what would he do?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm always trying to align the work that people do in their art with what design they can have. There is something where you can be like, oh, I'm going to do this totally clean and totally graphic, and I'm using organic forms and shapes and stuff, and I'm going to add them, and I'm going to make this fancy, and I'm going to use pastel colors and whatever. Mm-hmm. Or you can be like, shit, this is just a sketchbook, Yep. Make it look good, but keep it clean. Yeah. This is a fantasy book, so I will use a typography that actually works with it. Yeah. I will add some small things like the leaf as the dot on the eye of the letter, which is the leaf of a birch, or I will use the spear of that girl and implement it into her name in the headline. I will. So either you put much effort and time into creating something which you will be respected from your colleagues or whatever, or you actually be like, I'm gonna put some more time into all these fancy details and let just the art speak for itself, which was the right decision with Tyne, because Tyne was something that Evan like constantly tried to remind me of, and it's at some points I actually listened to him. It is a sketchbook. Don't get mad about anything. Don't make this like I wanted to do like really crazy stuff with it. And he was always like, dude, this is a sketchbook. Keep it simple. Yeah. And this is what I did. If I like I told you, if he was in my head, what would he direct? What would he do?
Yeah, totally. And then how long did you have to work on the actual book from kind of the time Evan approached you till it being published?
It's hard to tell because the book itself started as one book, not as three. We had 366 stories and images. So obviously it had in the end like over 700 pages. This was a book which I wasn't sure how to sell it. It was something where I wasn't sure how it would stay together depending on how we produce it, which materials I could use. I was diving at that point very much into materials, how to make something very special. I know that Brand also talked about it. We had our own little conversation in Paris, which helped me a lot and absolutely like showed me that in some things where I worked on art books that I'm on the right way. So it made absolute sense to do something that a collector wants to have. So in the end, it resulted in splitting the book, making 3 volumes of it. Makes it easier to sell, easier for many other reasons, also to not your fingers are breaking off because you are trying to hold a book that at this point had more than 3.5 kilos.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing as well with a lot of these bigger books. I mean, I even recently got the Art of Overwatch from Blizzard,
Yeah,
and it's
huge thing.
yeah, it's I think it's about 400 pages, and you kind of have to have a table in front of you to read it because you need to lift that weight onto something to flick through it because it's a heavy ass book. But then even something simple like the other one I got recently, which was the Art of Dishonored, which is only about 120 pages, but it's super simple design. There's enough in it to get the general gist of what has been going on in the project, and it doesn't break your arm lifting it. So yeah, I can totally see why you would want to. Yeah, and I think there's a collection aspect as well because art books are a whole thing where people want to have a good collection of them. So getting different or multiple volumes works quite well. It's similar to stuff like Spectrum, which has been published. There's so much art. They break it into volumes that come out every so often, and then there's a collection that builds from there. And then it was the same with because you also worked with Eliza on her book last year. Eliza
With
Ivanova.
no, I didn't work with her.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Yeah, I just can remember because you connected us for the podcast.
Yeah, she did some guest art for Time, which was the reason why we kept talking, and I gave her some feedback concerning Kickstarters and stuff. So no, it was basically just some help,
Right.
but I didn't actually work with her.
Yeah. So I mean, so this is so have you done other books past Evan's one? Is there stuff that you're currently I mean, I don't know how much you could talk about. Obviously, if you're in talks with people or working, but I'm assuming there is stuff coming that you're still doing books as a kind of day job. You're still working with people on projects.
Yeah, I mean, my client jobs mostly are for agencies, so it's I mean, like local agencies or those in here in Germany, which is like flyers and logo design and the classics of graphic design actually.
Yeah.
But when it comes to books, I also still work for my old publisher because this is basically something that I'm doing like with my eyes closed. It's just certain patterns that are repetitive and pay the bills.
Yeah.
And but the things that like these art books, of course, there are some art books like in the making. And like the last, which is like really official, is the one of Faraz Shanyar, which is very much fun to work on, and also I'm very interested in how it will turn out because of course the book is only finished when the artist has approved it. But besides that, of course, I'm working with some other people, but I wouldn't go into detail because if I learned something, then it is that you first gotta sign some contract before you make things official.
Yeah, I could imagine. And then again, apart from obviously Firestarter, that's something I think you would want to approach in the future, right? You would want to maybe, like Brent, I suppose, is doing now, is you'd want the art book part to become more prominent in your life. You'd want to be doing, multiple or 2 or 3 a year, like putting out, projects or working obviously with people like ArtStation, or other kind of bigger names, right? That's the end goal. Is that what you think you would want to do moving forward?
I never really plan on getting as big as most of these guys out there publishing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not John Flaskis. I'm not ArtStation. I really have no drive to do that in any way.
Right.
I'm considering myself more like the little organic shop in your town,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
you have something nice to work on. I will 100% dedicate in working with it.
Yep.
And in the end, I will have a great book, which I'm proud of, and people might like, and most importantly, the artist will like.
Yeah.
And I can say I did my best, but I will never produce something like where I'm like, gotta do 10 books a year and wow, like no, this will never happen. I do this because I like to do it.
Yeah, totally. But then again, I think opportunity meets as preparedness, really. So I mean, if something comes along where you got to work on like a massive project, I mean, you would probably be interested, right? You'd want to, so if you got handed an opportunity to work with a big publisher or a big client, that's something you'd want to do. I mean,
I already do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
no,
Yeah.
I already do that, not only with Evan or whatever, but yeah, there's a big thing coming,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't be like I'm gonna take this and that and that and that and this job too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
to I don't know, like kill myself by working.
Yeah. Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's still it's like one at a time,
Mhm.
concentrating on it, getting
Yeah.
it done, and then it's the next one.
Yeah. I get. I mean, well, yeah. You don't want to overload yourself with 3 or 4 books because again, you're only one person, right? So, you only have so much time between family, between work, between the community stuff you're doing as well. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But then again, I think you're doing a lot for the time you have. I mean, because you're obviously you're trying to attend as many events as you can. You're obviously still working on the Firestarter stuff, and yeah, I mean, you're probably doing more than the average graphic designer I know who would work in a studio 9 to 5, then come home and switch off. And yeah, like there's still stuff that's even though you finish your day job, like you said, the stuff that pays the bills, there's stuff still going on in the background that's still ongoing, like the art books, like the community stuff, like the Firestarter, and then obviously you guys have a website now, and you've organised stuff like Patreon and Gumroad, and then you're prominent at different other events and advertising, and so yeah, like it's always weird. I think no matter how much you do, you always feel like you can do more. I mean, it's the same with me, right? It's doing things like going to events and then running the podcast and still try to study and focus on a job and work for Redescence. So, but I still don't feel like I'm doing enough. I still feel like there's so many more things I could be doing. And I take it, is that just something you think that stays with you always in this industry, or is it part of just being an artist, or?
I don't think that it's a part of being an artist. I don't even think it's a part of being the industry. It's just a part of being like a human, because I've seen this with other industries too.
Yeah, right.
I mean, being a workaholic, which is basically what you just described,
Yeah.
will in the end just ruin you.
Yeah.
Everybody chooses his poison, you know.
Yeah.
If you decide to just poison yourself and the whole day with work, it's very easy to do that, because we as people work that way.
Yeah.
I was like shortly before that too, and
Mhm.
I forgot why I started being a freelancer, which was because I wanted to spend more time with my family. But then you can't have everything at the same time. Either you dedicate yourself to a project and you just pull it through, and be like, yeah, at some point it will be different,
Yeah.
or you actually don't realize that, and you will always just tell that yourself, like, yeah, it will be different, one day, just one more time, and then only just this one project, and then I will be fine.
Yeah.
And it never really changes anything.
Yeah.
In the end, you will always end up being the guy who works very late and never sees his kid.
Yeah.
So this is a human problem, and this is not an artist problem.
Yeah.
And I hope that many people who I already talked about this before, like many people who I know, will at some point see that it's quite easy to get out of it.
Yeah.
For some it's harder. I mean, I'm not judging or whatever, but for some people it's harder.
Yeah.
But it took me also some time to realize that sitting in front of the PlayStation and playing the next Assassin's Creed doesn't have to get you any bad feelings in your gut, because you're thinking,
God,
I could be working right now and I could actually do something for my life. No, it's if you think like that, then you're working for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, you say this, and it's literally just like, as soon as, because Raphael Lacoste done the talk at IAMAG about the art direction for Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and literally, as I know you were sat like 2 seats away from me, weren't you? Right?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, so as soon as I got home, I had a bit of spare cash and I invested in the game, and yeah, I've been putting some hours into it the last couple of days, and it is that thing when you pick up the controller, your mind is like, oh, you could be working right now, you could be doing stuff, you could be drawing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a nightmare, right? I mean, it's one of these things where you want to do well in the industry, you want to learn, you want to progress, but life is always kind of clinging at you, like, socially with friends or with family. You want to spend that time, but yeah, it's hard, man. It is. It's really difficult to try and balance everything, and I think that's why mental health is such a prominent thing in every industry just now, especially art. I mean, last year at industry workshops, there was a whole panel where people were talking about, approaching mental health and talking about it more openly, and people really should be looking after themselves. And you see it with more artists talking about, going freelance, or walking away from studios because they want to spend more time doing X, Y, Z. I mean, I know one of the first interviews I'd done was Titus Lunter, and met him at industry workshops 2 years ago. And Titus at the time had walked away from working at Ubisoft in the division and had went freelance, and he talked about how he just didn't enjoy the studio environment. And yeah, I think that's why so many people go freelance now, is because obviously you get to be your own boss, but pick your own projects, schedule your time, where you feel it's necessary for you. And yeah, I can totally understand why concept artists want to be freelance, and I think it's probably one of the royalties that freelancers, especially concept artists, get to enjoy, because there's several other disciplines within the game industry that can't be done remotely. So some 3D art or programming. So there's a luxury, I suppose, there that we get to be able to work remotely. Like, you can be away from the project, and it's the same with you, right? That's the whole reason that you went to do freelance, because you want to be in control of your schedule. And is that something you've seen? Because obviously you've been in the industry or within the community longer. Have you felt that there is a shift towards freelance, or you've seen people want to walk away from more studio work into doing their own thing?
I actually don't really know, because it's hard to generalize that aspect. I think there were always people who wanted to go freelance, and I think there are always like seasons along a year where people are like, I don't want this anymore. I need to change stuff, because I know when it gets spring and you're stuck like in your office or whatever, and you're like, I could be at home and like working late or like enjoying the day. These things happen like along the day. I don't know if this is a general thing. I think many relied on stuff like Patreon to be something that allows them to do whatever they want. But without actual discipline, you can do whatever you want and you will never get anywhere.
No, totally. Yeah. So we had that conversation. Yeah, I was going to say we had that conversation anyway about a particularly really famous Patreon artist who earns a lot of money for doing what they do.
You mean Sakami-chan or what?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you wanted to name by name, but
whatever. I mean, everybody knows who you're talking about. Whatever.
Yeah. But we were talking about the fact that the money intake was very dramatically large, and I think Jan was saying, it almost pains him, because so many artists want that, right? They want the ability to be able to make art away from the studio, to have a good aspect of money, to make a good living for themselves, for them and their family. But then it's difficult, because once somebody does it really successfully, then the people at the back don't get the exposure, right, of the new thing, because it's already been done. So you have to try and find a way to reinvent the wheel almost to be seen in the Patreon space.
Or not, or you just sell yourself and do whatever you want.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
In terms of be like, I want to be rich and successful. Okay, then I'm gonna work with other people's stuff, and I don't know, like make them look better or different, or gonna merge them with something or whatever. It's not always about being creative in a sense. I mean, people listen to music that has samples in it, right?
Right. Yeah.
There was this interesting interview that do you know Craig David, this musician? He had this really funny beard.
The British guy.
And he did a song together with Sting, which was based on his own song, and it was basically just sampled together, and Sting added some lyrics.
Right.
I think they called it The Rise and Fall or something. I'm not even sure. Okay. So they had this interview, and Craig David was getting all sorts of questions and stuff, and then at some point the interviewer looked at Sting, and I think he asked him something like, but it's your song, right? And he's, let the young people like just steal my stuff and do something. And he was laughing, but you could see that something was going on with him, right? And then Craig David said something which is basically it's quite clever. He said like sampling is a new kind of creativity, and it's an aspect that has been grasped by many philosophers too, because every philosopher had someone who had the same thought at some point before him. There's always some guy who your theories are based on, and I think with every creative job it's pretty much the same. It's hard to do something really new. In the end, it's very important to just do what you love for whatever reason. If you don't care what other people think about you, there's nothing you can do about it. or they can do about it, which is more important.
Yeah.
So you just do your thing, and if it's really important to you what other people think, and if you want to do something with everybody together and have something like your moral backbone is like really strong, and you really want to do something that everybody helps, then eventually it will be seen and you will be treated the same way. But I think it's really hard to just pinpoint in some direction, be like, yeah, you got to do it like this or you got to do it like that.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I agree with everything you're just saying there. Yeah, yeah. It pretty much sums up the whole topic we were talking about in Paris.
Yeah.
So yeah. So even just moving on quickly towards the end with Firestarter. Is there anything particularly you want to kind of push just now, or anything that Firestarter's getting involved in, or like obviously you guys have a website which is it's firestartermagazine.com. And you can get the magazine there, right? You can download it for free on that.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay. Yeah. And then, how else would people find the magazine? Where else are you connected, social network wise?
Well, it's. I mean, all the information is on the website. If you want to get something in some way involved, if you are perhaps someone who has ideas, who wants to put them out there, if you want to write something very interesting for the community, which is like not a tutorial, because Firestarter doesn't do tutorials. If you want to communicate something with the people around you, then you're very free to contact me. And what Firestarter has been up to lately is increasing the engagement with the events in terms of getting like codes for discounts and getting free tickets to give away to people. And there's a lot in the making. I mean, I could just go down the list now and tell you everything, but in the end I will spam all of you in on social media anyways. So who cares, right? I mean, 100%. It's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah, and I'll put all the links in the description below the video. You guys, if you're listening on iTunes as well, you'll find that in the podcast description. I'll put the links for the magazine and then the social media aspects of it, and we'll talk to Spiridon after this about maybe even a direct email for him if you want to get in contact about articles or artwork, or because you're always looking for talent, right? If there's an artist listening to this who want to do like a portrait for you or a piece, or want to get involved, you would be happy just to be kind of communicated directly. Would you be okay with that, or?
Yeah, of course. That's the whole point of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, totally. Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, cool, man, cool. Well, yeah, just to wrap it up, just to say thanks for Spiridon coming on and taking his time to speak to us. It was really
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, more than welcome, man. If you guys want to get in contact with Spiridon, I'll leave his contact details below. Also check out the website. Again, that was firestartermagazine.com. Firestarter can be found obviously through different social medias and the website, so guys, get involved. It's a great magazine with great talks from artists and industry kind of comings and goings. If you guys want to get involved in the podcast as well, you can speak to me directly, and as always, this episode is sponsored by Procreate. I'll leave an ad read at the end, and if you guys comment on the video, you can also win a free copy of Procreate, and more things to come from them soon. Thanks again, Spiridon. Thanks again to the audience, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.